Welcome back to Tommyknocker. I'm Tommyknocker.
I'm Keto Chris.
And
last video you saw, we did both conventional brine and keto brine. What we got in here now is all our beautiful meats that we're going to be loading the smoker up with today. Tom's got a trick in here, especially for whole birds and bigger chunks and stuff. I'll let him go over his tip here.
what you need to remember, the reason for the tip is really important. The reason for the tip is that you need to make sure that your meats maintain, they have to be submerged during the entire brining process. It does cut back on bacterial counts, and it does actually mean that you're going to get a proper brine throughout all of the meat. Like, you don't want the breasts of a chicken or a turkey floating above the level of your brine solution. You want them submerged. So what I've done, what Keto Chris and I have done, is I've taken a bowl of cold water and I've simply put it on top of the meats that are in my brine solution.
So now this isn't brine water in the top. Mine got a little mixed from when we were moving them over. They just got shook up. But yeah, it's just tap water and displacement. You can actually even put the bowl in empty, kind of hold it with one hand and just pour in until it submerges your meats.
That's a really good practical point. Because sometimes your brine bucket is so narrow you can't get your both hands in, and you want to make sure, so you can put it in empty, you can ladle it in or pour your cold water in there so that it does push down. Now notice that since I took my ballast off, the bird is now floating. So this is really an important thing to remember. If it's not submerged based on the mass that you're putting in there based on its own nature, put bowls of ice cold water on it.
You could even fill the bowl with a bit of ice cubes and whatnot in it too.
Absolutely.
You know, we're up in cold Canada, so this time of year we can you know, leave it in the attached garage. It's rating +2, +3 at the warmest. You know, sometimes you just gotta watch it doesn't get too cold. Or again, we've got fridges that we got the racks pulled out to take these types of large containers and that kind of stuff.
What I'm going to do next is I'm going to remove the fish fillet from the brine, and then we're going to dry it. You need to make sure you have a dry fish fillet going into the next stage. This is an important stage. So we're going to go point by point as we get into this. I don't want the pork chop. Don't worry about, gee whiz, or my pork chop's going to taste like steelhead trout or salmon. Doesn't happen. Don't worry about it. Okay, we're going to dry this little piggy off. Chris, can I pass you this so that I can? Yeah. Okay, thank you. So we're gonna pat this dry. You don't need to take a hair dryer to it. You just need to, get the bulk of the moisture off of your fish fillet. And that's basically as good as you need to do it at this point.
Very important that you take this excess moisture off, because what we're going to be doing right now is we're going to be waiting for the pellicle to set up before we season it. If you leave all of that excessive moisture on there for it to air dry and to set up that pellicle fast enough would just take your fish out of the core temperatures that you're looking for.
Let me define what a pellicle is. A pellicle is literally a fine film of proteins that come out of the flesh of the fish. Very, very thin film. It becomes tacky. It's going to take about an hour for it to set up. So that's what we're doing now, is we're going to take the fish fillets, allow them to set their pellicle up. Once the pellicle is on, then we'll be applying the pork and fish rub, either keto or regular, to the fish fillet, and then it's going to be introduced to the smoker.
So same thing too. I'm going to, here, this one's dry still. I'm going to bring out my keto brine fish fillets. And again, the keto brine is slightly lighter than the other one. It might not pick up on the camera as well, but definitely out here we can see how much lighter this one is.
We're actually using steelhead trout as our fish. I've had wonderful success with it, although the first couple that I have done were done with Atlantic salmon. The results were spectacular with that as well. There are other dishes you can do besides just putting a chunk of smoked fish on your plate, and that will be dealt with in other areas of other recipes, secondary recipes that you can do. We're going to have a full gambit of other recipes you can go to on our website, and things like smoked salmon cream cheese dill dip is going to be on there. We're probably going to call it something else, but it'll be on there for you to review. But This is going to be a primary component that you're going to be using in your smoked salmon dip. Now that Chris has dried off the fillet,
Now we're gonna have to mark them.
I'm going to. I've got a trick up my sleeve.
So not everybody's gonna be doing the two at once.
So
Let me just sneak up past you here, bud.
I'm going to put 2 toothpicks in the keto fillet, and I'm going to put 1 in the regular fillet. And then what's going to happen is Chris is going to take over. Well, the two of us will do this. We're going to put the saran over top. You want to create an airspace over top so that the pellicle has an opportunity to set up. And it doesn't have to be hammered down in place. That's all you want. Cover it. You don't even. I just leave it on the countertop. But if you're in a tropical environment, like it's 85 or 86 degrees, get it into a cool place. Put it in your fridge. You need an hour for the pellicle to set up.
So we're gonna put this off to the side. We're gonna get the rest of our meats and the smoker all set up. We'll give you a snapshot of that in the next videos. And we'll come back to the fish once the pellicle's all set up.
We've taken the fillets out of the brine probably just over an hour and 15 minutes ago.
Took a little longer for the pellicle to set up on this one. Could have just been air temperature, content, whatever. The way to check it is by touching the surface, and it almost has a sticky film.
A tackiness to it.
Yeah.
Now, what's nice is, I'm going to leave the toothpick in there because that defines whether one's keto or one's not. When you're applying the rub, the Tommyknocker pork and fish rub, the pellicle is gummy enough that this stuff sticks like glue. And it's just, look, it just sits there. It's exactly the layer we want. And look at that, I'm just about done. There you go.
Keto version. Same thing, you just kind of liberally sprinkle it on there, and like Tommy was saying, this tacky surface is like dumping this on a piece of
Fly
paper or painter's tape or whatever. It just kind of picks up all that little dust and nuance.
Hit the fat.
Yeah. And on the fat side, some of that will come off while it cooks and releases the fat and grease and oil and whatever, but that's all perfect. This now is absolutely amazing.
So I'm going to talk about the concept of actually smoking fish. When you're dealing with a fish of this nature, like a salmon or a trout that's like this size, in theory, what you should be doing is maintaining a temperature of 180 degrees for the first 2 hours. And then the last hour, bump it up to 225. You may want to do an internal temperature. You want to get to 145 as your internal temperature with your fish. And once you get to the point where you can eyeball this and you know it's ready to go, you pull it off and it's like candy, it's heaven. And these are not overly sweet, but they're very savory, and
it is like candied salmon, candied trout without all of that extra sugar and crust on top. It's just something about the right sweet, the right savory. And again, it all comes down to the correct brine, the correct length of time, and then this profile that goes on top of there. Getting that pellicle set up, dropping this pork and fish rub on there, the rest takes care of itself. We'll get these on the smoker and we'll see you when they're done. So here we are, time to get the fish fillets on there. We are smoking beautifully right now. We're dropping the temp a little bit, even though we've got some other meats on there. For the start of the fish, just so that smoke goes in there a bit cooler than it normally would.
I'm going to dampen that down a little bit so we can moderate the temperature.
And away we go. And the smoke right now is flowing beautifully. Everything's pumping excellent.
Hi folks, we've now pulled the brined pork chops and brined steelhead trout fillets off the smoker.
This smells amazing. These came out beautifully. If you can see, yeah, exactly.
Like I got props here. I can prop them up so you can see what the side that was on the grill looks like.
This fillet kind of broke apart a little bit. It had a little sticky under the grill, but smells amazing. I can't wait until we get to tap into these here shortly. Again, you saw the video all the way through. It's very, very simple. You make your brine, stick it in for a couple hours, pull it out, sprinkle some magic Tommyknocker dust on there, and away you go. Both of these have the same seasoning. They do not come by the same flavor. When you taste the pork chop, it tastes distinctly different than the fish, even though it is the exact same pork and fish rub. Absolutely amazing.
Now, I would think what I would do from here is if I'm not ready to have this right now this evening as supper, like if I'm not going to make Kessler, or if I'm not going to make Bubble and Squeak, or if I'm not going to throw it in a pan full of butter and have breakfast, I would put this into at the very least, a Ziploc freezer bag, but probably into a vacuum pack, label it, put it in the freezer for later use. They do freeze really well. And remember, smoking does have an effect of doing some preserving for you, but don't abuse it. Recognize you must refrigerate properly, and you must take care of your food, proper food handling, no, cross contaminations, always washing, rubber gloves, always, and keep yourself safe, keep your food safe, keep your guests safe as well. And I think this is a wrap because I gotta eat. I'm gonna have some. I'm gonna eat right now.
This is what happens when you get great spices, right?
As we all know, great spices are always in season.
That's right, folks. Great spices never go out of season.
Great spices are always in season.
That's what I said. Great spices never go out of season.
No, you did a double negative. Not quite a double negative, but you can't do the not ever or whatever. It's always in season.
Listen to these old people just complain.
When it's right, right? Great spices are always in season. That's what it says.
Till next time, folks.
Thank you. Have a good night.